Hi, I'm Joe Hilferty, and this is Appliances Explained. Today, I want to talk about loading a Miele dishwasher. So I get a bunch of comments, at least a few comments, where people are asking about loading a Miele dishwasher. Their racking system is kind of unique. So I get where people sometimes get a little bit flustered with loading these things. So I'm going to do a brief tutorial on loading some just common everyday things that you might want to put in a dishwasher. All right, let's get into this. We are practicing or playing with a newer Miele model. This is a G7766 SCVI. So one of the unique things with this dishwasher is that we've got these little foldable stemware shelves. Now you'll see there's little silicone inserts to kind of grab the neck of your stemware. So let me grab a piece of stemware so I can demonstrate this. So that is an example of how that might work. There, and you can see it kind of angles it so water doesn't collect on the top of the stemware. Miele feels that their china and crystal cycle is significantly safer to wash your crystal than washing by hand, especially if you've had a couple of glasses of wine, you've got soapy fingers, you're slightly inebriated, you're probably pretty likely to drop that crystal glass in the sink and break it. So this is a very secure way to wash. That Miele is going to control the soap depending on the machine that you have. So if you have one of their auto dose systems that will automatically dispense soap, it's going to determine how much soap. If you've selected the china and crystal cycle, it's going to determine your water pressure, your wash and dry temperatures. You even have a water softening system in this so that you don't get spotting like you see here in the test water. That will help ensure that your water comes in not too hard and it doesn't leave little mineral deposits there. And of course, if you're using rinse agent, it'll also help take care of that as well. So anyhow, back to the racks. So we have here we got a couple of mixing bowls. There's a stainless steel mixing bowl. I've got a larger stainless steel mixing bowl. So the way that we deal with these in the house is try to kind of stand them up so they're not taking a lot of space. So we're just straddling that row of spike tines there, so it's not taking up a whole section of the dishwasher. Here's just an example of a smaller bowl that actually kind of sits inside of that row of spike tines kind of nicely. So this mixing bowl is a little bit deeper, like this lip here kind of makes it deeper than what we have at home. So even the larger bowls that we have at home will sit perfectly vertical, but right now I'm getting it to sit in there by having it lean forward a little bit. Back here, you've got room for plates. Miele's plates or plate racking system holds or nests plates like you see here. So you're kind of getting it to stay nice and snug. It doesn't really move around too much. And that system is going to prevent the plates from falling forward and chipping each other, which is another reason Miele says you can put some of your finer china and crystal inside of the dishwasher. So that is the plate racking system. Now I've got this piece of stemware in here, and of course this is assuming that I'm going to put a whole bunch of stemware in. I don't really drink that much wine, so normally what I'm doing at home is these are going to be folded up for everyday use, and then I'm going to put my smaller plates over here and my larger plates over here so that I can do a big row of large plates next to a large row of smaller plates. Now I can also fold on this side just one of these down and do a couple of pieces of stemware. What's new for this year is the ability to kind of fold that up. So if I've got a large sports bottle or something, that I can get that to nest. And then you can see you've got this little straw holder here for my big Starbucks sports cups or whatever that have straws. That straw holder is removable, so that does unclip. I'm not going to do it right now because I think I need two hands. What's also new for this year is this guy here. Now this basically kind of stays folded out of the way here when not in use, but I can lift up and then kind of pop it back down, and that's going to give me something for larger items like a like a casserole dish, the ability to kind of stand up. So I can do it the old way, which is to have it sit vertically like you see it there. I can also have it sit kind of vertically. Now, this gives this a nice stable place for that casserole dish to kind of stand up, not take up a ton of room, and still get nice and clean. Probably have that face in either direction. So there, it's facing the other way, but not as secure there. So there's your casserole dish. You know, here's a little serving Miele kind of a serving bowl or whatever, and you can see how nicely that nests in there. I'm trying to think, do I have anything else for the lower portion? I do. So some frying pans. So here is an example of a smaller frying pan, and I can actually just have this sit just like you see it here, kind of getting the handle to catch those spiked tines and then have it sit vertically. So I can still put some things like cereal bowls down here if I want, and then have that pan. Now, if I get really creative, I might take one of those mixing bowls, kind of tuck that in there. So there should be enough room to get some water in to clean the mixing bowl and clean the little cereal bowl there. It's pushing it as far as the level of flexibility, but you get the idea. The lid to my pan, that can also go in the plate racking system, just like you see it there. It's nice and secure. I've got a larger frying pan here. Let's see if I can make this work. Take out this guy for a moment. So you can see that this also does a really nice job of just sitting vertically inside the dishwasher. Now we do want to make sure that our wash arm's clear, so you can see that this is going to hit the wash arm. So what I would want to do in the Miele is kind of come up and adjust that upper basket so that it's sitting a little bit higher by raising these triggers so that the rack is sitting on its highest position. And now I've got clearance, right? I've got all the clearance. Now with the Miele, I can also leave the rack kind of angled this way so that one side is sitting up high to clear my pot and the other side is sitting down low, so that if I have some larger glasses that I want to put over here, I can still do that. Now with that pan in there, I can still get another saucepan in the front. So now I've got two saucepans sitting vertically. All right, you get the idea. So let's pull some of this stuff out, close this guy up, and what we're going to do now is move to the upper rack. So coffee mugs, right? Coffee mugs, pretty much put them anywhere. If you put them on this row here, this kind of middle row to the left of the wash arm feed, this is going to do a really nice job of allowing water to run off an area like this where they might get standing water. There's going to be a slight incline on this right hand side here, so you can still put things over there and for the most part have less water pool up. There's also a cup shelf here, right? So in addition to the far left side having an angle to allow water to run off, once I put a number of coffee cups and let's say rocks glasses over here. Sorry, I'm trying to do this one-handed. Now that I've got some rocks glasses and coffee cups kind of lined up, I've got this little cup shelf that I can fold on top of this, and I can stack some additional, let's just use this as an example, coffee cups. So depending on how that's configured, now here, you can see it still clears the upper wash basket. The cutlery tray. So be moved over to gain some additional clearance. So, if you're really into organizing your dishwasher, this thing has just an incredible level of adjustability. You can see that this little cup shelf here also has some little notches for stemware. And again, they've sandwiched in some of this silicone, which is really slick. Let me see if I can make this work with a small piece of stemware. So there you go, you get the idea. Right, and now I've got that piece of stemware is sitting up kind of high because of the way that I've got the middle rack canted, but by having that guy slide over, I've got plenty of height. Now let's see, can I do both? Yeah, that is actually still clearing, interestingly enough. Something to point out on Miele, like most dishwashers, you do have a lower wash arm, and then you have this middle wash arm. When you check at the roof of a Bosch or a KitchenAid, you're really not going to see much of a third level. There's just not enough pressure to feed that third wash arm. So what's cool with this thing is that you've got a full wash arm. Miele, I believe, figured this out. They because there's not really enough pressure to kind of spin a big wash arm on the roof of the dishwasher normally. What they do is they spin the top and the bottom wash arm simultaneously, and then after a short period, that left feed will go off and they'll divert water to the right feed, which is sending water up and down from that middle wash arm. So it gives you a really nice third or true 3-level, or I don't know what they're going to call it, like 5-level wash system. So if you are shopping for a dishwasher, I always highly recommend Miele over most other manufacturers. This wash system is superior. This racking system is superior. Now, something that might be a point of contention for some people is the silverware tray, so we'll get to that next. But before we go there, I want to address these glasses. So people in my office have a difficult time kind of figuring this out. So in a lot of cases, they kind of want to put it here, and you can see as I'm pulling things in and out, the glass has a tendency to wobble. So one thing you could do is you could put it to the far right. Now with the dishwasher canted like this, it actually sits kind of stable. Even if it's not canted and it's level, this will do a decent job of allowing you to put a number of taller glasses there, right? My preference, though, at home is to kind of catch one of these tines, right? So by catching one of these tines, it's being stabilized by the outside tine, so it's really not moving around. I'm gonna do another one kind of right next to it. If you go too close, you start mashing into it, so I'm gonna have to go one tine over. But here again, nice and stable. And that for the most part comes in and out. I'm not being super rough with it, but even with being a little, careless, it does a very nice job of keeping those taller glasses from flopping over. On the inside of this row of tines, I can also do that same thing on the other side of that row. So I can come here and start catching that middle tine and securing those glasses. So realistically, I can do tall glasses in this area and this area as well. In some cases, in a pinch, I can kind of even go in between and do this. Or I can come over here and just have them lean up. But this is a little less stable. Something that's new in series Miele dishwashers is the ability to fold out half of these spike tines here. So what's neat with that, right? Because you could put a bunch of little plates in there. Maybe you could do that little trick where you're catching some of the glasses on that inside or middle tine, like so, right? But they're kind of low, right? Those tines don't go up quite as high. So I think it's ideal for smaller plates. Most people don't have that many small plates. You could probably do something like this with a cereal bowl or our little mixing bowl potentially. But on these newer models, if you push on those 3 little tabs here, just like in the lower rack, in the front area, which I forgot to show you guys, you can fold these tines down. Now what this does is it widens up the tine system so that I could take a couple of these cereal bowls and have them nest like that. My dishwasher does not have that. That is actually a feature I would love to have. Unfortunately, for the base 7000 series dishwashers, the 71 and 72 series, you're only gonna be able to get maybe 4 spots where those bowls are going to nest like that, because only half of the spike tines fold down for some reason. I really wish they would have taken that all the way back. On the 77 and the 79 series dishwashers, you'll see that they actually give you another section of foldable time. So I could add another 1, 2, 3 bowls. So I could do a total of 7 cereal bowls. Now they do start to come over a little bit. Now in this case, I've got these narrower glasses. You know, like these are probably IKEA or something. I went out and I looked specifically for, you know, glasses that didn't flare, because this dishwasher is a little bit on the shallow side because the amount of insulation in this. Another little thing I'll point out is that this little shelf here can also be a great place to take something like a spatula or a ladle and make that a spot to kind of catch those things. By the way, you can do that down here as well. So if you had some of those small plates in there and you've lined this up with small plates, I can now fold these shelves down, and I've got the ability then to put something like this kind of up top there. Now on the 77 series, we get these and these. On the 71 and 72 series, I think you don't get that left shelf, and you know, you only get these guys. Also on the 71 and 72 series, this row of tines is foldable for like a large stock pot to kind of nest in here. This side is fixed, you know, you can't fold it. So on the 77 and the 79 series, both of those rows will fold down. Silverware tray, you know, it's for silverware. This was Miele's great idea. Every manufacturer that told me 20 years ago how stupid this design was and nobody would ever do this with their silverware, turns out they're wrong, because their patent ran out. Maybe just about every manufacturer on the market has a third rack. Bosch is almost going, you know, fully to a third rack in their dishwashers. Check out my Bosch dishwasher videos. KitchenAid has them. Everybody has a third rack. In most cases, if you're looking for a new dishwasher, one of the things that you're going to find in your research, people suggesting to you, is that you buy a 3-rack model. I think we're going to get to a point where like all dishwashers have a 3-rack, and that's because of Miele. Miele was designing these trays for medical tools, right? So for dental application or medical application, these, you know, tools would go in a tray and then get put inside the sanitizer and get sanitized. I'm guessing some brilliant engineer was like, hey, why don't we do that same thing, but for silverware? You know, here's a hygienic way to put in the things that we eat from. Most silverware baskets suggest that you put your silverware like business side up so that the wash arm that's spinning around just above that can clean this. Now that's counterintuitive, right? Most of us want to put a piece of silverware down in the basket because that's a more hygienic way to take things in and out. So this kind of addresses that. Depending on your silverware design, you can either kind of place things in like this with this flatter handled silverware. You can also do this, which I think allows you to kind of nest things a little bit better. Now I like to sort when I'm putting my silverware in the dishwasher so that when it comes out, I'm able to kind of put things away much quicker, right? So you could argue all day long, like you don't want to spend time to go through there and sort whatever you're putting into this tray. In most instances, and I've had somebody tell me they just take their basket and dump it into a drawer and nothing stays organized. They just reach in and grab whatever. I don't know what's wrong with those people. Most people have that thing inside their drawer where they're going to go ahead and organize we're going to call that a silverware organizer. Most of us have a silverware organizer where we're going to put our knives, our small forks, our big forks, our little spoons, our big spoons, and organize everything that goes in there, right? So here what I'm doing is I'm just organizing on the front end, right? I'm organizing my silverware such that when I take it out, it goes away faster. So you're maybe throwing it in the basket and not really sorting it, and that's very easy. If at some point you gotta take the thing out and you gotta sit there and pick through the basket of your clean silverware with your grubby little fingers, especially if your kids unload the dishwasher and sort all that out. I think that's disgusting. This is a better way to go. So that is the silverware tray. You can, by the way, in the center section here, you've got kind of an area to do some cheap steak knives. If you've got something big like this, that might fit in there and clear that upper wash arm. Of course, you could always kind of put it on your shelves down here. If you've got something like a mug, a travel mug with a lid like this. Toss that in there, you know. Depending on your mixing spoons, you'll have the ability to stick that in there. All right, now that can also go in the middle area to make sure that it clears the rack. Your chopsticks can go in here without falling through the basket. So really just a really nice design. By having all of your silverware go up here, you know, we've created more real estate in the bottom basket where you're gonna have a lot of things. If you don't have a lot of plates and you have a lot of glasses, which some people say, oh, well, I need more space for big glasses. You can also take your glasses and kind of come in here and set them inside like that. So just to give you an idea of how to do that. God, I think I covered everything here. This is now, you know, 20 minutes or over 20 minutes long, I think. If you have any questions, please leave them in the comment section. If you like this video, please give me the little, you know, thumbs up, the like. And if you want to see more of this, if you're in the appliance industry or the kitchen and bath industry or design industry, please subscribe. I try to do these videos as often as I can. If you have a question, please leave it in the comments section. If you'd like to suggest a video, please leave it in the comment section. I don't necessarily get to respond to everybody, but I do read all of my comments. So thank you very much for tuning in. I will see you next time.